So if any of the musculature around the hip joint gets too junky or has too many knots in it, it needs to be massaged out before you can have full function of your hip. So you can use any of these tools, the softball, the quad baller, the foam roller, to work on this lateral hip area. And with the foam roller, for example, you lay on your side, right up where the hip creases, and you can go side to side, you can go up and down. If the tool that you have is the quad baller, you can do the same thing. Up and down, side to side, you can lay on the ground. Or if you want something that kind of gets in there a little bit more, a softball or a lacrosse ball is really effective. And you want to be in a position where you can kind of stay for a long time and get some quality work done. So try to be as comfortable as possible while you're doing tissue work on your body. So one subtle modification that makes a big difference is having your leg not straight. That's good too, but it gets really, really gnarly if I bring the hip up like this and then scoot my body side to side, forward and back. This feels like it gets into some stuff that's really hard to get otherwise. And when you clean that up, the function of your hip improves dramatically. So the adductors, especially where they attach high up here, we believe are one of the biggest causes of FAI-related hip pain. So one of the most effective ways to work on them is to get a bench or a box or a small chair or something about this size. Place your lacrosse ball on the edge of it and get very close to the box, and then lay your other leg up on top, as high up by the attachment point as you can. One hand on the ground, one hand on the box, or potentially both hands on the ground. Other leg might straighten behind you, and slowly kind of grind around and massage around until you find the tightest areas. And if you will just gradually work them out, this will give you huge, huge benefits for the hip pain. Enjoy. So I've never met a person who couldn't use some good tissue work on their quads. We have two tools, the quad baller and a foam roller, to accomplish this. Lay your foam roller out on a mat or on the floor. You can do a double or single leg. This would be the double leg version, going from just below my hip to just above my kneecaps. Or if I wanted to go one leg at a time, I could shift over like this and just get one leg, or even slide it over like this and put this knee on the ground. Whichever feels best for you. If you want kind of the next level of intensity, the quad baller kind of grips the tissue a little bit better. So you can go face down and spend some time here, or the lateral quads, which are often pretty gnarly in a lot of people. You can bring your leg back and come out more onto your side and get some of those lateral quad muscles. So wherever a muscle attaches high up by the joint, often experiences the most knots and therefore causes the most dysfunction in your hip function, your hip range of motion. So take a softball or a lacrosse ball, and whichever one's your favorite, and what you're going to do is sit on it right up at that attachment point where most of the knots are. You can get the lateral hamstring. So right now the lacrosse ball is a little bit over here on me, and I'm sitting tall. Or you can kind of lean on the inside here, and if you can't tell where I'm at exactly, it's this high point right underneath the butt, right here. So I'm either on the lateral hamstring sitting tall, or I'm on the medial or inner hamstring and I'm kind of leaning into it. So my elbow is out here on my knee and I'm pulling. The softball starts on this side and then I pull my hip into it and the softball rolls that way. And that usually feels really, really good, bad, for most people. And those muscles, once you free them up, will allow for a lot more hip range of motion and hip function. So on your journey of doing self-massage and fixing your FAI, often people start with more larger, blunt objects like a foam roller and rolling their glutes out on that, this kind of thing. Then eventually they need something a little bit more pinpoint, like a lacrosse ball, which we showed you. And the last thing, eventually when the lacrosse ball isn't even enough, something more small diameter and more pinpoint, like a jackknob or two, is going to be most effective for you. So whenever you're ready for something like that, same setup, same position as the lacrosse ball, lay on your back, Put this underneath your hip, hips up, turn to the side, come down on this kind of lateral part of your butt, the soft squishy part, on the side with your knee resting on something. And this isn't so much a scrub around, this is more of a breathe and relax and let it sink in and slowly break up the knots that are in there. So give this a shot if this is something you're ready for.
Yeah, be cool, just move with the groove.